the most important thing when you are the leader of a business, the leader of an organization, the leader of a country is the will of the people. You could have the strongest military, the most prosperous society, a well-oiled machine, but if the people are apathetic, not only to you personally, but they're apathetic to the very foundations and ideas of your business, country, organization, then they will easily submit. That's what happens in these countries like the United States right now. If people get angry, they care. I would much rather my significant other get angry at me for doing something stupid than just to shrug her shoulders and say, okay, and roll her eyes, then move on. What's for dinner tonight, right? That means that she doesn't care. And apathy is more dangerous than anger because when you're apathetic, you don't care. A lot of times this takes a while to happen. You get into decadence, where people don't really care about the traditions, they don't care about their country. Kind of like the United States, they're going through the period of decadence, right before the empire starts to go down. But this happened in a very fast way pertaining to Babylon. Unlike most of the great empires, like Rome, that took years and slowly died over time, Babylon literally was overthrown in the matter of days. In the same manner of Rome, but it was a quicker process. You could have the greatest army, you can have the greatest fortifications, you can have the greatest industries of that day. But if you don't have the will of the people, if you anger the people as the leader, then you fall. I was looking into the Persian conquest of Babylon. What I found very interesting was how good Babylon was fortified. Its first line of defense was a moat. Now, a moat is a deep, wide ditch surrounding a 56-mile circuit of brickwork ramps 300 feet high. These walls were so thick that at the top they supported a roadway wide enough to accommodate a 4-horse chariot. Now think about this. Its first line of defense was a deep ditch, and that ditch was large enough to surround a 56-mile circuit. And past that 56-mile circuit, you had bricks that were ramps 300 feet high into the air, and they were so thick that you could fit 4 horses, a chariot, and a person. Now that would be pretty hard even today, even with today's technology. But can you imagine back then, before gunpowder, before cannons, when you were using swords and a lot more less advanced warfare? But that wasn't just the only defense they had. Within the perimeter, they had a second wall that was equally stout in its construction. They had a 100 bronze gate, and each gate was heavily and permanently guarded. And those gates provided access to the city. The people that defended Babylon asserted that Babylon was virtually siege-proof. There was no, and this is also interesting to know, that if you wanted to surround the city, kind of like what happened to the Byzantine Empire. When the Byzantine Empire fell, one of the things that the invaders did was they surrounded the city. Well, Babylon, you couldn't do that because there was no lack of fresh water. You had the Euphrates River that ran through the town. But what about food? In their granaries, and that's just a storehouse for grain, they held enough food to sustain the inhabitants for more than 20 years. So not only was the city heavily fortified, had massive walls, ditches. Once you get past those walls and ditches, then you had to get through the bronze gates where you had guards, but it also had a river flowing into it, and it had a storehouse full of grain. That basically means that brute force could not bring Babylon down. That's why Cyrus had prepared the ground for his invasion over several years. He supported political and religious malcontents within the empire, and the dominoes fell. He is credited with leading one of history's earliest propaganda campaigns against the king Nabonidus, I think is his name. He was very unpopular with the people. The way he went about it was, because Cyrus was a pragmatist, but the way he went about it is he said that the king had offended many of the gods and the people, and that Cyrus was divinely appointed to bring him down. Now, something about Cyrus is he would always respect whatever traditions and gods of the area he conquered. He did this with the Jews. He let them go back into their homeland and rebuild the temple. He did this in Babylon. When he went through Babylon, he did not plunder, he did not attack, his army was peaceful. And that's why the Persian Empire was successful. But when Cyrus marched through the land, you had a religious festival that occupied the attention of the city's inhabitants. When that was going on, you had a rebellious governor of Gidom, and Gidom is a province that is east of the Tigris River. But he was directing the invaders in a strategy that Cyrus created. Under the cover of darkness and the noise of thousands of not quite sober citizens enjoying themselves in honor of their gods, the soldiers reached the city walls and quietly began digging a huge trench to divert the Euphrates from its course. Now, there aren't any historical accounts of what happened, but basically Cyrus ended up digging, overtaking the city, and the citizens were so drunk and so preoccupied with their party they didn't know what happened. But then when they found out what happened, they just accepted Cyrus's rule peacefully. And like I said, you can have walls, you can have commerce, you can have food, you can have water flowing, but if the citizens are angry or apathetic, then your society falls. That's why the U.S., despite its infrastructure, interstate, airport, highways, if the people are decadent, it'll fall. And I don't mean in a physical invasion. I mean in a small process over time. And we see that happening right now.